You're ready to start putting your amazing folding table together when you've collected and created and sanded all your parts. So we've got 2 narrow slats, 2 wide slats, 2 convex slats, 2 concave slats, 4 seat supports, and 4 legs. With all those parts, you're going to make 4 separate sub-assemblies. They look kind of similar, but all 4 of those are a little bit different. This one here is what we call the wide leg sub-assembly. This one here is a narrow leg sub-assembly. You can tell the difference on the amount of overhang right here compared to the amount of overhang over here. This is the wide seat sub-assembly, and this is the narrow seat sub-assembly. So it's important that you make one of each and don't duplicate them. So to make those 4 separate sub-assemblies, what we have is we have 4 separate assembly fixtures. Alright, and so again, they all kind of look very similar, so you just got to make sure, right? You can see here, this says narrow seat. This would be the fixture you use for the narrow seat. And we got the wide slat, narrow leg. Up there is the wide leg. So you got to make sure that you use one of each. So here you can see how the fixture is going to work. The fixture is just going to hold your parts and pieces in place while you nail it together. So just some things to keep in mind. Again, it's got the note up here, short angle goes up. So here I can see that the angle, the short side, is facing up. Down here, the curve kind of goes down here, and you can see how it fits nice into that slot. So you have to kind of pay attention to where it is in the slot. And here our concave slat just fits in there perfectly. So once that you've seen that all the parts kind of fit together nicely, what I did is I removed the concave slat. What we're going to do is we're going to apply a little bit of glue, just a little bit, to the leg. So I just have a little bit of glue on the leg where the concave slat's going to go. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the concave slat back in. Notice the green outline, right, over here. So what we want to do is we want to line up our concave slat with the outline that's on the board. All right. Now it's in. Now we're ready to nail it down. to get ready for nailing, we should mark where we're going to put the nails. What we want to do is we want to nail this board down on top of the leg. We want to go right in the middle of this leg, right? We don't, if we're too close to the outside, we might actually blow out through the side. So we want to go right in the middle of this leg. So our eyes do a really good job of dividing things in half. So what I want to do is I want to figure out where I should put the nails. I don't want to go too close to the edges, right? And I want to be right in between here. So I'm going to look straight down on it, and I'm just going to estimate what is halfway between here and here, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to mark. I'm going to put a nail right there and right there. So each thing that we nail down, each slat, should have 2 nails in each end. So now we're ready to go ahead and we're ready to nail it. We're going to be using what we call finish nails. These are 2-inch nails. They're called 6-penny nails. They have a very small head on it. So there's the nail. Very small head because it's a finish nail. What we want to do is eventually we want to get this nail to sink down below the surface, and then we can cover up the nail with some wood filler so that you'll never know that it was there. Right? So nailing and hammering should be a lot of fun, but it takes practice. What you want to do is you want to put your nail straight up and down on where you marked, and you want to make sure when you're hammering, you're hitting it straight up and down. All right, so this is going to take some practice to get good at this. I want to point out one thing right here, as I'm hoping you can see this, is that I left this nail up above the surface. This is what I call leaving it proud. It's proud. It's sticking up above the surface. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to take this hammer and start smashing the wood that we just took all that time to sand. So I'm going to leave that a little bit proud, okay, for now. So what I did right there is something I just didn't want to do. I missed the nail, I hit the wood, and I put a little dent in the wood. So now I'm going to have to kind of sand that out later. Like I said, 2 nails in the end of each board, each slat. So I've got all 4 nails in. They're sticking up the surface just slightly. Exactly what I want to do. Ready for the next step. So what I do is I remove it from the fixture and I inspect it. Before I go any further, I want to inspect it. You're going to find that sometimes the nail went in crooked and maybe it's poking out the side here. Or maybe it's poking out on the inside. So before we hit these nails all the way down, first thing we want to do is just inspect it to make sure that the nails are not poking out. If they're protruding out the side and we haven't nailed this in all the way yet, what we can do is we can use the claw part of the hammer. We can go ahead and we hook on to the nail with the claw part, and we can pull that nail out if we need to. If it's buried all the way down there, it makes life just a little bit harder. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to sink the nail down below the surface. So we're going to use a tool like this. Okay, it's called a nail sink. And what happens, it's got a nice, not a super sharp point on the end, but there's kind of a dull point. And when you see it, when we look at this nail, you'll see there's a little dimple on the top of that nail. And so we have a lot of technique here. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do one, and then we'll talk more about it in a second here. But you take the nail set, you put the nail set right on top of that dimple. And the idea is that we sink that nail down below the surface about 1/8 of an inch, so we can put a little wood filler in there. So here it is from a different angle. You can see the nail sticking up. Maybe you can see the little dimple here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nail set, and I have to hold the nail set on top of that nail. And so you can see what I'm doing is I'm bracing the nail set and the nail with these fingers. So I'm kind of holding it in place with those fingers. My pinky finger is right down on top of the board up against this thing, and so I just go ahead and I nail that, hit it down below the surface, sink it below the surface. As you can see, it's not super easy. Well, that wasn't the prettiest example, but you can see now that that nail is down below the surface. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put some wood filler in there. So we want to hide those holes in our board. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some wood filler or wood putty in. So you'll find in a big orange container like this, wood filler. You're going to need what we call a putty knife. And you just take a little bit of the wood filler, and what you're trying to do is try and smush it down in the hole. So we're smushing it down in the hole, and then we're wiping it off the top surface. The more wood filler that's on the top surface, that means the more you're going to have to sand off. We're going to sand off all of the wood filler on the top surface once this thing is dry. So the more that's on there, the more sanding you're going to have to do. So you don't have to have a whole bunch. We just want to make sure that the wood filler is forced down into that hole. So what we do now is we wait till the wood filler is dry. That usually takes me 15-20 minutes. So this is probably something that you're going to do. You're going to let it dry, and the next time you come in, you can sand that down. But the last step is super, super important now. Your name is probably nowhere on this project, okay? And all the projects are going to look the same. So we need to make sure that your name gets on this. For the leg assemblies, for the narrow leg and the wide leg, what we're going to do is we're going to put your name, okay? Put your name on what I call the long angle right here. So you're just going to go ahead and you're going to write your name. This is going to be the bottom of the table. This is the bottom of the leg. This is the part that's on the ground. It's going to stay there forever, right? So you're just going to go ahead and you're going to put your name right there so that we can actually find your project again. For the seat supports, we're going to need to put it on the bottom side of the seat support someplace, maybe on the little angle, just like this, and the little angle that's on the end of the seat support probably be a good thing. Okay, so keep in mind we need 4 separate sub-assemblies. Need the wide seat, the narrow leg, and the wide leg.